Good evening and welcome to the final Dan K show of the USPHL calendar year, Lucas, closing out 2016-2017. But instead of starting with three things, we're going to start with one big piece of information, Lucas, and that's that Dan K show, it's going to be moving to an off-season edition on youtube.com. You can look up the Dan K show, or you can go to Facebook and follow Dan K show. Follow Lucas and I on Twitter as well. We'll be doing off-season shows all off-season long. We'll have shows about the USPHL. We'll have shows not about the USPHL. We'll do NHL hockey talk. We'll do some fun talk. We'll do some good times. We'll talk about anything, Lucas, right?
That's true, Dan. You know, we're looking to have a lot of guests on. We're going to do a little bit of a variety show feel. So it's going to be a little different, but we are confident that you'll still be entertained. So please keep checking that YouTube channel all off-season long. You know, when the weather warms up in New Jersey, Dan, I feel like it becomes a whole different world for, you know, a lot of people who live here and enjoy the shore. So we're going to try to capture that and bring some of that shore spirit to all you guys.
We're the perfect show to watch on your office break. That's what we are. Or during class. You got a summer class? Why not turn on the Dan K show? Not while the teacher's talking, not while your professor's talking, but maybe every once in a while when they're talking. And you kind of, we're your escape. That's what we're looking to be. We're going to have all kinds of content, all kinds of fun guests, all off season long. But with that in mind, we have one last set of content here to bring you talking USPHL hockey. Lucas, an incredible year. We got all the awards being given out right now. You're watching them as you go along. You're seeing each and every position's award winners given out. We can't talk about awards winners.
No.
We don't want to. No spoiler alerts here. But Lucas, let's talk about the season that was just put together.
What a great season.
Yeah.
You know, we had, great games all season long. Had a lot of moves in between teams. Players changing teams.
Yep.
Teams changing spots in the standings, duking it out for 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, that all-important first place spot. We had some great games during the playoffs, a couple of upsets. We got a chance to witness the third game of the Rush and Hampton Roads Whalers championship,
game.
which was just phenomenal. And if you haven't caught our analysis of that, you can go to the USPHL Facebook page. Dan and I did a little bit of Facebook Live stuff, which you can watch now. It won't be live, but still relevant if you're a fan of the Hampton Roads Whalers or the Charlotte Rush or USPHL.
Or hockey in general. It was a great hockey game. If you're a hockey fan, you love good hockey. And that's how I am, I love any hockey game where you can watch two teams mix physicality, good puck movement, good strategy, and just hard-hitting action. When you see all that put together, and you see two goaltenders that don't want to let a puck by them, you've got great hockey. And that's what the USPHL gives you day in, day out, game in, game out. Fun to watch, great hockey. Let's talk a couple things. But first, Lucas, I just wanted to talk about, I tried to wear my best today to kind of promote watching us in the off-season, you know what I mean? Because watching us, it's an investment. And this is really me. I am investing today in you as viewers, and I hope you guys will watch us all off season long. Lucas, what do you think about that?
Well, he told me that he had a joke ready, but he didn't tell me the joke, and now I regret continuing to be on the show.
But he's going to be on the show all off season. So am I. We're going to be bringing you Dan K show content. Let's take a break, do that little intro we do one last time this year, and then come back with a little rundown of our predictions and see who is the smartest guy on the staff. Welcome back, USPHL fans. Dan K, Lucas Jones. Final show of the year in the USPHL. We'll have plenty more coming your way, though. It's going to be plenty more of these two going at you with some great banter all off season long on everything in the world. Anything we want to talk about, pop culture, movies, film, USPHL hockey, anything you can think of. But with that in mind, we get to our predictions. We had a panel discussion. We had a couple people on a panel, 4 different people. We had Eleanor, Alex Jones, Lucas Jones, Dan K, selecting their champions in USPHL. Lucas, who won?
You won.
Dan K won, that's right. I came up with a victory, and want to know what was the icing on the cake? The whipped cream on top of the sundae, the salt and pepper on the filet mignon, the scrimps on my scrampies. What it was Dan K selecting Austin Lemieux how do you do to put up a hat trick in the clinching game of the Dominion Cup Finals? I called that a week in advance. Incredible, impeccable, stupendous, tremendous. Dan K, big-time predictor this offseason.
I have to give you credit. That was a pretty spot-on prediction. Very specific. You know, the more specific those predictions are, the more likely they are to be wrong. In this case, you were right. You had a good feeling about Austin Lemieux, considering how much we talked about him on the show all season. I guess it's kind of no surprise that he did as well as he did in the championship game.
We did talk about him a lot. And you know, this guy was incredible all season long. One of my favorite players to watch. But you know what? One of my favorite predictors to watch this offseason was Alex Jones. And he selected the Charlotte Rush to win the elite title. Just how good of a selection was that by Alex?
Well, it turned out to be the right selection. Alex was the only one who picked correctly in the elite division, Dan. And not only that, the Charlotte Rush rewarded him by calling him their new favorite Jones brother.
New favorite Jones brother. Always been mine, but an incredible pick by Alex. Let's go to Lucas's pick. Lucas, where'd you go right?
Well, I went right, Dan, in the Premier Division.
Premier Division.
And, you always say not to bet against the Hitmen. We always talk about how good the Junior Bruins are, how good the 4, 5, 6 spots are, through that whole league. But I went with IHC. I'm a stats guy. I'll sit in front of that computer all day with a notepad trying to figure it out. I've got, string up on the wall, trying to piece it all together. And I picked IHC, and I was pretty confident in that, and was rewarded for that confidence with an IHC Premier League victory.
You were, and you remember what happened last time you picked against Sean Tremblay.
That was also another reason.
Also another reason why.
Sean Tremblay is a very experienced coach and a very scary person.
Both things on his resume. Great season for Sean Tremblay and those Islanders Hockey Club superstars. Big-time Premier title. Let's talk USP3 selection there. I picked the team alongside Eleanor Davies, who was our expert on the playoff bracket. Great pick by both of us, Florida Junior Blade. Just how good of a season that they have.
They had a great season. They called me out the first time that I picked against them. They said I only got one more, and I used it. I didn't pick Florida Junior Blade.
Shouldn't have used it.
I was wrong again. They put out a kind of season where you look at the numbers, you look at the experiences, you look at the players and the coaches and the footage, and you say, wow.
Yep.
What an incredible job by this team. They absolutely dominated.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was an impeccable season by these guys. I mean, I put it up at the levels on Twitter with the UConn women's basketball team, with the Dolphins from '72. I put it up there with the '98 Yankees. Some of the greatest teams of all time. This Junior Blades team, they weren't just a great offensive team, but they stopped teams defensively. They closed up passing lanes. Every game was an in-depth dissection of everything you do right. They found your biggest strength, and they made it a weakness. And they turned that strength against you and made it their strength. This team would score 6 against a team who put up 5 a game. This team would give up 1 against a high-scoring squad. This team would put up a shutout in a game where they just weren't putting the puck in the back of the net offensively. They found every way possible to win. Head coach Todd Pocock got to be the guy at the helm there that you're giving the biggest props to.
Oh, absolutely. We always talk about how important it is on the organizational level.
Yeah.
And for the organizational level to go from the top of the guys through the coach to the team. The coaching is so important. The coach is that leader. He's that transition guy. He talks to the guys at the top of the organization and then delivers that message to the players in the form of the footage sessions that they talk so much about, the on-ice drills, all the work that they put into the weight room. All of that stems from the players' dedication and the coach's leadership.
Got it, Lucas. An incredible USPHL season. Let's close this thing out. Let's talk Jimmy Vesey, New York Rangers. We're getting close to Frozen Four time. We're getting close to Hobie Baker time. And it's a time of year where the USPHL loves to celebrate Jimmy Vesey, Jack Eichel, the last two Hobie Baker Award winners, both USPHL born and bred.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Vesey, New York Rangers, right now sitting in that wild card spot, almost happier to be there. I think he'd rather play Montreal or Ottawa coming out of that other division there in the Atlantic than face anybody in the Metropolitan, right? In that spot right there, Lucas, in the wild card spot, going to have one less home game than everybody they play the rest of the way. Do you think Jimmy Vesey can help propel those Rangers, how far do you think they can go into the playoffs in the NHL?
I think they can go very far. You know, we've talked about how I think we both prefer coming in the wild card spot because it allows you to build up extra momentum. Even though you're not necessarily playing at home, more hockey is a good thing. It lets you build up that momentum, that speed, that fluidity. It gets you on a roll faster. You know, you get these teams sometimes that don't have that extra game and they come out and they're feeling a little stiff, they're feeling a little slow, and you're ready to rock and roll. And I think Jimmy Vesey is a guy who, you know, we've talked about at length also, who thrives under those conditions. We've seen that from his time in the league as well as his time in the NHL, that he is a guy who rises to the occasion. And I think the wild card spot is the best place for him to rise up from.
You're going to put him up against Montreal, that number 1 team, or Ottawa. I think Ottawa has a chance to jump Montreal there, get the number 1 spot in the Atlantic, face the Rangers as the 4 seed in the Atlantic bracket. But this is a Rangers team that can run through that Atlantic bracket. There is a big discrepancy in talent between the Atlantic and the Metro. One thing you got to worry about, those Habs, those Canadians, they got Carey Price between the pipes. And when you got a goaltender that perfect, that guy doesn't lose to the Rangers ever. That guy doesn't lose to Lundqvist ever. Right now, Lundqvist on the shelf. Antti Ranta is going to have a lot to handle if he's the one starting in the first round of the playoffs against Carey Price in a 7-game series. It's going to be messy. It's going to be difficult to deal with. Jimmy Vesey, though, may be the guy to put some pucks past him. Lucas, we talked NHL. We talked Hobey Baker. What else is there to talk about before the season ends?
Well, I think there's one more thing. Things to look forward to.
Forward. I'm always so busy looking in the mirror that I always forget to look forward. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking forward, Lucas. The USPHL next year will launch the NCDC. It'll launch a Tier 2 status, a tuition-free program for hockey players, 11 teams, all kinds of possibilities. There may be games of the week. There may be little Dan K shows on the road for this thing. There may be some extra special Dan K show content for everything. The USPHL network's going to be rocking and rolling next year. Lucas, let's talk NCDC. What's the most exciting thing for you about a tuition-free league coming into play next year?
I think the best thing about a tuition-free league is it preserves the original mission of the USPHL, that sending these players to get their college education so that they can be prepared not just as hockey players but as people in society.
Exactly.
You know, the education is important, the continuing to play hockey is important, but tuition-free, I think, allows for a little bit of a different makeup of the league.
It's true, and one of the makeups I like, I think my most exciting part is the feeder system. The leagues that you're going to have under it that are feeding into these NCDC programs, the direct connection from the Midwest to the South, to the Pacific, to the East, everywhere you can think, there are going to be teams feeding into these NCDC squads, and it is going to be exciting for these players. If you're a young player next year playing in the Premier, playing for a team like the Florida Junior Blades, and you're having a 43-1 season, you better believe you're going to be moving to that next level. You're going to find your way up into that NCDC team. And now there's the incentive for these players. You're going to stay here, you're going to grow here. Cradle to college is the key. Cradle to college youth to the NCDC. Lucas, after watching the 16U, 18U play, after watching the 16U futures and watching the HP youth in the USPHL's younger levels, how excited are you for this USPHL future?
I think the future is bright for the USPHL. You know, we've talked about the 16U futures. You know, when we were doing the award shows. You know, we're combing through these players and like the statistics and the teams and like looking at these matchups, and the talent level is so high, and not just high sporadically. It is consistently above and beyond what you would expect from players at this age. I think the more they move up, the more that they're in the USPHL system, like the feeder system you talked about.
Yep.
Their talent, who knows where it could go. Because the best part about the NCDC, Dan, is it gives them that spotlight.
Yep.
You get up to that NCDC team, and now you're on this platform, and now it comes from a, here's your team, to now it's a, let's see what you got.
It's incredible. My favorite story, and I called him my favorite player this year, Nick Polsinelli. First of all, class act kid. This is a kid you love to watch play, you love to see do good things. You know it's coming from a good place. You know this guy's never the guy out there chirping too much. He's the guy that's just head down, just going at it, scoring when he needs to score, making the pass when he needs to make the pass, makes the hit when he needs to make the hit, puts his body on the line each and every day. I remember watching this young man when I was working for the Philadelphia Flyers Junior Hockey Club my first year in their feeder system. And I watched him at the 16U level tearing it up, and I couldn't wait to see him at the next level. And he slowly worked up that system, made his way to the big club, and put up big numbers. And when you watch feeder systems like that, Lucas, where you can go from young to top, and you can be with the same coaching staffs, and you can kind of be groomed and taught how to fly and tossed out the nest, and you flap those wings, and you have a place to land when you need to, and you have a place to kind of fall and get hurt a little bit and figure it out. That's the coolest thing about this USPHL model they have set up going forward. I can't wait to see what's next for these young players. Like Lucas and I said, it is an absolute privilege to work for this league, to work with these young men, to work with these families, entertaining you, bringing you USPHL content each and every week. Lucas, before your final words, I'll give you final thoughts.
Stick with us all off season.
Yeah.
I think that's my final thought. You know, we have been building the Dan K Show YouTube page, getting some content so that when we launch, there's going to be plenty of stuff for you guys to click through. We're going to have some short videos, some longer videos. You know, hockey's not the only sport.
It's not. There are tons of sports out there. You got baseball guys here. We'll talk a little baseball with you. For your folks in Canada, we'll be talking Toronto Blue Jays. We'll be talking about why Montreal Expos need to go up there to Canada, eh? And we're going to be talking everything. Sports, everything pop culture, everything life. Dan K Show, all year long, all season long, always bringing you the best in everything. Lucas, the best in everything. Speaking of it, give me your final words.
Well, as is tradition, Dan, my final words in the final episode are actual words.
Whoa! Here we go.
Go to the Dan K Show Facebook page, like it, and follow it. Because what we did on the USPHL page, going live every once in a while, we'll be doing on the Dan K Show page. Make sure you go to the official Dan K Show YouTube page. Search official Dan K Show YouTube page, and it will come up. I checked. Trust me, it'll be there.
It'll happen.
There's going to be a ton of content all off season long. Stay with us so that when we transition back into talking junior hockey at the start of the season, you don't miss a beat, because I can almost guarantee a few jokes from the off season are going to make their way onto the show, and we would love to have you laughing along with us, because that's the whole point, is to have you connected with us. And like Dan said, it's been a privilege to be doing this show for you guys, and we hope to see you on the Dan K Show page during the summer.
You want to be on the show? Tweet us. You want to be a guest? Tweet us. All off season long, we're going to be having special guest stars, special storylines. If you want a storyline on the show, you want to be a guest, or you know someone who'd be great for the Dan K Show, please reach out. Please tweet us. Let us know. Hashtag Dan K Show. Tweet at yours truly, Lucas Jones, LJones1138. It's been a privilege. It's been an incredible season. Congratulations to not just the winners in the USPHL, but everyone. The parents, the fans, the friends, the cousins, the uncles, the aunts, the grandparents, of course, and the players themselves, the coaches, and everybody involved in making the USPHL as perfect as it is each and every day, and making it the best league in junior hockey. Thanks for watching, and remember, when Dan K is on the mic for the last time this year in the USPHL form, when Dan K is on the mic, it's always hockey night. Thanks for watching, everybody.
I got worried you forgot how to speak there.
I got lost. And you know what? They teach you the pregnant pause, and it allows you to figure out what you're supposed to say. Like, the other thing I learned to do is the moth move, where when you get lost in the middle of a sentence, just act like you're kind of a moth. And you just kind of.
Are you sure about the moth one?
You can just flop right into the room. You can go anywhere. You go right to the lights. Right to the lights. See?
That's.
Look.
I think you broke it.
Did I break it?
Yeah. Now, well, watch
No,
what
I don't
happens.
think so.
No. Oh,
Look.
yeah. No.
Look.
Well, the light's working, but you broke the stand.
Did I break the stand?
Yeah.
Ah, the stand's always been broken.
Yeah. We weren't going to tell them that, but.
Dan K Show Campfire Edition. Right? Doesn't look like I'm telling a scary story?
You'd have to be here for that.
Oh, God. Well, now Lucas. Dan K Show Spooky Story Edition. Oh, God, that hurt my eyes terribly. I'm blinded.